Welcome you to the third and final public forum of the Tuition Policy Advisory Committee. My name is Kevin Hegarty. I'm Vice President and Chief Financial Officer for the university, and I also co-chair, along with Provost Steve Leslie, the Tuition Policy Advisory Committee. We're going to begin the public forum with a brief presentation. Afterwards, we'll open it up for questions. Now, if you do have a question or you have a comment to make, what we'd ask you to do is at the appropriate time step forward to the mic, please introduce yourself, and then ask your question and make your comment. The forum is scheduled to run till 5 o'clock. Because of commitments of some of the members, we will end promptly at 5 o'clock, but if there are unanswered questions at the end of the forum or you have other feedback for us, you could probably catch a few of us afterwards, and of course we're available by email. This is an opportunity to ask the Tuition Policy Advisory Committee questions and to provide the committee feedback. President Powers is in the audience, but while he is in the audience, he's here to listen, so that we ask that you direct your comments and questions to the Tuition Policy Advisory Committee and keep it on that subject, because that's what we're here to talk about. With that said, what I'd like to do is introduce the rest of my colleagues on the TPAC. From the professorial community, Professor Hillary Hart, Natalie Butler, who's head of student government, Carissa Nietzsche, who's head of the Student Senate, Rosa Gutierrez, who is our member at large, Dean Victoria Rodriguez, Dean of the Graduate School, Provost Stephen Leslie, Manny Gonzalez, he's the chair of the Graduate Student Assembly, and then our Dean representative, Dean Randy Deal. And with that said, let me turn it over to our student group.
With the TPAC timeline for this year. If you notice, TPAC began meeting on September 26, 2011. Our weekly meetings commenced. Throughout this entire process, students were very deeply engaged in the process. The creation of the College Tuition and Budget Advisory Committees last year aided TPAC in really collecting this information at the college level. Town halls were hosted, surveys were sent out, so a lot of you as students have received those through various college level listservs and have truly had a chance to give your impact as the colleges were giving those recommendations. So that's sort of the timeline for that. Our first public forum for TPAC as a whole on a university-wide level was on October 12th. That really went over the budget as we see it. So we explained what that looks like, what the breakdown is, and how tuition is set, and explained the process in more detail. The second public forum was on November 16th. That was the last one that we had, and we did mention in the emails as well as in the forum itself that we were considering a tuition increase, and we allowed students to have the opportunity to give their feedback at that time and to discuss with us the implications to them, their pocketbooks, and their families. So that was the second public forum. We sent out a report this Monday to President Powers and the rest of campus, and that is what the remainder of this forum will actually be outlining is what we're recommending. This is the third public forum, and this is really a chance for all of y'all to continue to weigh in. You have the ear of President Powers to give your feedback and your thoughts on the recommendations that TPAC has made. Just a little bit on the further timeline, President Powers will make a recommendation to the regents on December 15th, and the regents will meet on tuition around March 2012 to make a final decision. So that's what the TPAC timeline looks like this year.
Thanks everyone for being here. I'm going to talk a little bit about historical state and student contributions to the overall university budget. This first chart I'll explain a little bit. I think the most important lines are the red line and the yellow line. The yellow line is tuition as a percent of the overall university budget, and the red line is general revenue. And general revenue is the state allocation from the state of Texas to the university. So the red line is the general revenue as a percent of the total budget. And you can see that those lines crossed, and they have been offsetting each other over the past few years. Another important line, the purple line, is total state allocation and tuition as a part of the overall university budget. And you see that hovers around 40%. The rest of that money comes from all kinds of different areas, but the majority of it comes from gifts, the university's endowment, and research grants. So about 40% of our overall budget comes from the state and tuition combined. But if you look at those lines below that, you can see that the state allocation has been steadily decreasing. And because of that, tuition has been increasing in order to make up some of that money in the overall university budget. Does anyone have any questions about this chart before I move on? I want to make sure that y'all I can answer those before we move on. These are some of the things that this university has been doing and is going to have to deal with over the next few years. $92 million was cut from the university's budget in this most recent legislative session. So the university is going to feel those impacts. This is something that we've been dealing with. A lot of people on campus have been preparing for. Because the state budget comes biennially, that's every 2 years, that's $46 million per year to the university in cuts from the state. In the 2010-2011 year, the university had to eliminate about 200 administrative positions, and about 400 positions, or 12% of state-supported positions, may be eliminated in order to balance the budget, notwithstanding a tuition increase. This includes about 95 instructional positions. Possible impacts of this budget cut, without the tuition increase, larger class sizes and fewer course offerings, less access to instructional support, research-oriented courses being scaled back, reduced library and service hours, fewer academic advisors, reductions in health and counseling service, and the deterioration of buildings and facilities. We've been put in a tough situation by the state and by the overall fiscal situation in the state and in the country. And so these are some of the impacts that we will feel some, but we're trying to lessen those and the impact of those on campus.
So to give you a better idea of the needs that the campus has, if you look on unfunded needs versus net new funds, for the 2012-2013 year, based on all of the things that the colleges and schools have recommended as instructional needs, that's about $14.5 million 2012-2013 and $14.6 in 13-14. Some of these things include at a college level, things that we saw across the board, expanding course offerings and bottleneck courses. So maybe that really tough class to get into that prevents you from moving on and clearing the pathway to your degree is something that was identified as being a priority. So perhaps more faculty for those types of classes. Advising, career services, summer bridge and summer course offerings. So more classes available in the summer as well as faculty hiring. So these 5 things were identified across the board from all of the different colleges' proposals from both the student and the dean groups as being priorities for students. A quick note on this, the Board of Regents did stipulate that all of these needs for this particular year that were recommended for 12-13 and 13-14 must link back to 4-year graduation rates. So as you noticed in the 5 things that I listed, they're all pretty central to helping you to graduate in a more timely manner. If you look down to central instructional needs, it's $16 million for 12-13 and $16 million for 13-14. Some of these things include perhaps adding an enrollment management position. Financial aid and incentives is included in that. Universal tracking and maybe moving to an e-advising system, educational innovation fund, classroom enhancement and faculty development and enhancement for educational excellence were all identified as priorities for that $16 million in 12-13 and 13-14 from a central university-wide perspective. If you look down, $18.2 million and $18.5, that's for employee health as well as facility costs. So making sure that all the lights are on. Another one in terms of employee health, a good note for this is currently UT Austin is not keeping up with the rate of inflation. So we are not necessarily very competitive in terms of our employee health benefits. So this is really maintaining the status quo and not going above and beyond, not even meeting levels of inflation. If you look down student services needs, the Student Services Budget Committee, SSBC, recommended about $800,000 here, and Natalie can definitely address any questions that you may have about specific needs that were identified in this particular category. If you look, total needs equal $49.5 million for 2012-2013 and $49.9 in 13-14. Another additional note, none of this goes to faculty merit pools or additional faculty salary raises. So if you look at this, this is a problem in terms of competitiveness and keeping UT Austin competitive so we don't lose the Austin faculty that we have. None of that is included in these needs. So that's $49.5 and $49.9. The net funds available before a tuition increase, which Natalie had outlined as the general revenue that the university gets, is $19.2 and then $1.9 for the following year. If you look, that leaves unfunded needs at the university at $30.3 and $48 million the following year. Things that keep the university competitive, that help students get their degrees in a timely manner or as quickly as we want. Things that really help our university to succeed and be competitive on a national scale. So $30.3 unfunded for 2012-2013 and $48 million for 13-14. Because TPAC is recommending a 2.6% increase in tuition, you'll see that the net new funds from that tuition increase would be $15.1 million for 12-13 and $15.5 for 13-14. Note that this is still showing that the unfunded needs are about $15 million that we can't fund. This will be either cuts or really working to make the university more efficient, and then the following year even more, so about $30 million. So or $20 million, I'm sorry. If you look at this, you will see that we are severely having problems to maintain our competitiveness, despite the fact that this is accounting for a tuition increase as well as the general revenue that we get. So there's still lots of needs that are unmet.
I'll just stand over here. Or I guess we're going to walk over there. So I guess thank you, Natalie and Carissa, for giving us context of public higher education in Texas. Clearly, it's been a very challenging time financially, fiscally for us, as we challenge in light of the $92 million shortfall that we're getting this biennium. Can y'all hear me? Can y'all hear me? Yeah. In light of the $92 million shortfall that we're facing this biennium, in light of the fact that Texas, as many other states are, devaluing, defunding higher education across the board at very quick rates, in light of the fact that we have a lot of unfunded needs currently, and we have additional needs now coming our way in terms of initiatives that are hoping to improve our four-year graduation rates, we've now come with our recommendations to President Powers in terms of what we hope, or what we, I guess, tuition, what do we feel as though tuition needs to be increased over the next biennium. As you can see, Texas resident undergraduate student rates in terms of tuition would increase about 2.6 both in 2012, 2013, and 2013 and 2014, as well as non-resident rates.
For the graduate students, can you all hear me too? For the graduate students, the rate is 3.6% for 2012-2013, and again 3.6% for the year 2013-2014.
And we understand it does not escape us that, for instance, the graduate losing the access to subsidized loans, that this is not insignificant increase. That has not escaped us, and so we really want to reiterate that these are the recommendations based off of current realities in terms of public higher education in Texas. In terms of the increase and what that actually means, and I guess I'll let you talk about undergraduates since you're actually an undergraduate.
For the undergraduates, again, this will be an average of the students. For example, for the undergraduate students, an average cost would be $127 per semester in 2012-2013, and $131 per semester on 2013-2014. As for non-residents, it is a little higher. The average cost would be $583 per semester on 2012-2013, and $604 per semester for the 2013-2014 year.
And as to the impact on graduate education, for the average resident graduate student, taking 9 credit hours a semester, which of course is full-time load for graduate students, it would be about $155 per semester this following year, then the next year $160 per semester. And so with that, you've heard our recommendations. We've given the context of higher education in Texas currently and what we're facing the next 2 years. And so we open up the floor to comments and questions.
Mic check. Mic check. Mic check. Mic check. We have collectively attended every opportunity to insert our voice on this issue. We will not stand for these tuition increases. Nor will we sit as passive cogs in an interest-driven loan-lending machine. Although President Powers is in attendance, our grievances go beyond him. It is our Board of Regents and state legislators who have systematically legalized unregulated tuition hikes, as well as the encroaching privatization of our entire university system.
We will not tolerate the following any longer. Meetings behind closed doors that do not include students' collective voices.
which lock out
low and moderate earning families,
low and moderate earning families,
cuts to apartments and centers.
cuts to apartments and centers.
We are all in a recession.
We are all in a recession,
And money is tight.
and money is tight.
But while our price tag is increasing,
But while our price tag is increasing,
executives have not been willing to take pay cuts.
executives have not been willing to take pay cuts.
We are in times of crisis, and yet
We are in times of crisis, and yet
we have seen administrator salaries increase.
we have seen administrative salaries increase.
We are not asking for more money,
We are not asking for more money,
just a redistribution of what is already there.
just a redistribution of what is already there.
You propose solutions
You propose solutions
that are detrimental to the community.
that are detrimental to the community.
We know that this forum is a mere formality.
We know that this forum is a mere formality.
We know that this forum
We know that this forum
was never a chance
was never a chance
to democratically participate
to democratically participate
in this decision-making process.
in this decision-making process.
Please take this message
Please take this message
to the Board of Regents
to the Board of Regents
and tell them the students
and tell them the students
will not let tuition increases
will not let tuition increases
pass without a fight.
pass without a fight.
Occupy UT.
Occupy UT.
Power to the students.
Power to the students.
If anybody else has any comments?
My name is John Lawler. Should I be ready to use this?
Yes, please.
If you want to use the human mind, let us know. I will.
I think I'm loud enough. But so my name is John Lawler. I'm a College of Liberal Arts representative. I've had the privilege of serving in that role for the last 3 years. And this is my second time getting to stand before TPAC Forum and express what I feel is a sincere failure in the process of obtaining student opinion on tuition.
Yeah.
2 years ago, I stood before that TPAC, which had Liam O'Rourke and Lauren Matthews as two of the student representatives, and Bruce Cecile Lopez as the other. And I raised issues including the lack of an online presence as far as a website that did not provide enough information to students on how to become involved in these conversations. A closed-door meeting setting where student media was not allowed to be participatory in the discussion so that they could disseminate the information and advance conversations that occur in these decisions y'all have on the student body. And at that TPAC forum, what came away with were promises that the website would improve, that there would be an improvement in reaching out to the students, which I would like to commend the student leaders up here for doing the effort of having additional open forum. For those of you in here who weren't here 2 years ago, this is an improvement. It may be minor in my perspective, but it is. So I commend you for that. However, there is serious lack of student input in the current tuition setting process. Our student body president, Natalie, and Chris, we met about possibly having a student referendum to democratically express an opinion by the students on how a tuition should be set. And when that idea was proposed, the reaction was that by having a referendum, it would tie y'all's hands, where y'all's opinions would not be able to be as free. My opinion is that y'all's hands should always be tied. Your hands should always be in the hands of the students who democratically elect you. So I'm raising some concerns because I haven't seen a lot of change in the TPAC format from what happened 2 years ago. And what I also want to raise, what I also want to commend is that there has been a lot of effort by student leaders on this campus to improve it. And that's the College Tuition Budget Advisory Committee. I'm proud that I got to be involved in the process for the College of Liberal Arts and seeing those created. And I'm proud that the College of Liberal Arts is the only college that did a large-scale survey of their students to see how they felt about increasing tuition. That survey included an educational component that informed students of the benefits of increasing tuition. However, surprise, surprise, at the end of the survey, it found that 60 to 65% of the students who took it, considering the benefits of tuition increase, still opposed increasing tuition. So my concern is this. When you have a survey created out of the CTPAC as the largest college, the College of Liberal Arts, that comes out and says, we do not want you to increase tuition, regardless of the benefits, then why are we supporting it? We as student leaders on a committee like this, we should not be afraid to say, listen, even though we understand these advanced conversations that we've been having, purely and simple, students do not want a tuition increase. Let's disagree, and the conversation can continue. There's no reason why the group of y'all right here have to have a consensus agreement on anything. Y'all can have widely different opinions. It doesn't have to be a consensus. So the question I have, and I asked Carissa this 2 hours before this meeting, Do you think student opinion has been adequately represented through the TPAC process? Thank you.
I would like to begin by talking a little bit more about the College Tuition Budget Advisory Committee process and the college level engagement in this issue. As John said, we did talk about having our hands tied. And I feel like my hands are tied because of the College Tuition Budget Advisory Committees of the 16, 15 of them moved forward with requesting the tuition increase. Those were students that had the information, had the charts, were charged with informing other students on these issues and discussing these issues at a college level and really engaging students. And I believe that many more than just liberal arts did a survey. Many did town halls. Many opened their meetings and really took student opinion into consideration when making their recommendations. So, I believe my hands were tied, and they were in line with what all of the College Tuition Budget Advisory Committees had recommended. Recognizing that liberal arts did come forward and say that they did not want a tuition increase. So that was certainly taken into consideration and discussed many times around the TPAC table. I'm going to let Natalie talk a little bit more about the university-wide level involvement of students and how we've been working on that.
Yeah, John, you and I talked about this, and I agree that there's still room for improvement. This year was, I think, a huge step in the right direction. Is it perfect? Absolutely not. And I really hope that moving forward, now that this process is over, that's something I want to work on. I hope that a lot of the people in charge next year want to work on. We can improve this process. But this was a step in the right direction. Are there things we can do better? Absolutely. I can't agree more. And I think that Carissa and I are going to sit down and talk about what those are. How can we better engage the CTBACs? This year was the first year we had a lot of these things in place. The first year we had CTBACs. The first year that we engaged students in forums beforehand. So we learned a lot. There are ways to move forward to make this better. But I absolutely agree with you on that. This wasn't perfect. I think it was better, but it still isn't perfect, and it will take time to get there. We've learned a lot, and I think there's huge room for improvement moving forward.
Okay, well, I appreciate those comments, but I had another question. This is more for Rosa. Rosa, I know you well. We've worked together for a while now, and I respect you dearly. But at the same time, I still don't understand why we have an appointed student position on the Tuition Policy Advisory Committee. Specifically, I think we should explain to the students in here and everyone in the room what your role serves. Because are you a dean of students appointment, is that what you are? Or vice president of student affairs, which one is it?
Yeah, it's recommended by the dean of students to the president, and the president ultimately makes the appointment of all.
So currently, we only have one democratically elected student representative on the Tuition Policy Advisory Committee. Rosa, did you apply for the position on TPAC? When did you find out you were going to be appointed to TPAC?
I found out around October. Yeah, October. Now I was going to bring that up actually because I truly believe with you. There's 4 students in this committee. There's 50,000 students at this university. I highly agree that by creating, and it's a learning process for me. And for last 2 years ago, I heard there's improvements. We are improving. We are going the right direction. Was it perfect this year? It wasn't. Getting the CTPACs involved, that really brought us different perspectives into the table. We got the reports. We were able to read them and know what each college was going through. I know some colleges weren't able to get it together before the deadline because the deadline was pushed really fast. But there's improvements. We're having a meeting after this in the future where we're going to propose recommendations for, like, I personally would say have another student appointed, because one student representing 50,000 students, actually undergrads, which would be 30,000, it's really, like, as you all can tell, it's just one student. And just getting the message across, please come to the open forums, please come to the open forums. Last time we had 50 people. Again, it was a good turnout, but again, my opinion, 50 people out of 50,000. You know what I mean?
And I wanted to thank y'all for fielding these questions. And it may seem like we're kind of airing some dirty laundry, but I think it's appropriate, especially considering we have President Powers in here, because I think there are some sincere and severe concerns with student representation on this committee. So, going on, speaking about CTPACs, you said 15 of the 16 recommended a tuition increase. But Carissa, in the conversation we just had 2 hours ago, you referred to some of the CTPACs as baby CTPACs, CTPACs who weren't even fully formed and performed no means of gathering students.
To clarify, that was definitely not the word that was used. When referring to the CTBACs, there are some CTBACs that did have to do retroactive town halls. I will admit that a few of them, after recommendations were made because of the expedited timeline, did reach out to students. But students, they did reach out to the students and reported that back to the TPAC committee, they reported that back during CTPAC roundtable meetings when I met with them. They definitely had their voice taken into consideration, and it was through an official means of a document that they submitted to this body. They sat in the meetings with their deans to write joint proposals. They sat in the meetings with their deans to respond to the dean's proposals. They were actively part of those conversations. And if we want to just take a look at numbers, last year, or 2 years ago, at this TPAC forum, this group would be the number of students making those decisions. The iSchool had over 300 students respond to their student survey, almost their entire student population. Liberal arts had 400. That's 700 voices just in 2 colleges that were taken into consideration that never would have ever had an impact on this matter in the past. So, I mean, really, this group of, I guess, 50 to 100 people versus those 700 students that had a vested interest and discussed these matters with us, engaged with us, reached out to us. I mean, really, this year, I mean, as Natalie said, it's not perfect, but I can definitely say that that's a pretty great increase. So I don't know if that answers your question.
And it leads into my next question, and I can step away at any time from the mic if anyone wants to come over and talk. I'm pretty bad about not walking away sometimes. My next question concerns taking a perspective from the short term versus the long term. Because one word that I was very concerned with in the campus-wide email that was being sent out was concerning it was a modest tuition increase. It is modest when you simply look at it through the 2-year perspective. But when you add the cumulative tuition increase that has occurred since we deregulated tuition in the state of Texas, it's substantial. It's highly substantial. And basically what we have allowed is the state legislature to enact a tuition increase for all students, a user fee. There is now an increased user fee on Texas citizens and non-citizens to get a higher education in the state. And this is an issue I've raised with each of y'all individually. Right now, TPAC serves as almost like a Band-Aid for the state legislature. The state legislature can cut funding to higher education and get away with it because they almost know it, that the university will have to increase tuition in order to maintain that quality. Because the university would never shoot itself in the foot, that whole kind of saying, they're never going to shoot themselves in the foot and decrease the quality, so they get away with decreasing the funding while not having to increase taxes. And I think what we should do as community leaders is take a strong stand and say, we're not going to be your support anymore.
Yeah, that's
we're
right.
not going to allow you to keep getting reelected and your constituencies not realize that you're cutting higher education. But realize that's what we're doing every biennium when we increase tuition, is we're allowing state legislators and politicians, I'd like to stress the word politicians, to get reelected because the constituencies never see what occur.
Yeah. I was going to say, my final comment, my closing comment at the last TPAC forum was that we need to think about every time we vote, we need to think about the impact that that's going to have on higher education in the university. Engaging down at the Capitol, that's something that a lot of us have done and we need to continue to do, and the more and more students, the better. But it goes down to that simple, the minute you step in the ballot box, keep in mind the impact that that's going to have on the university and on access to higher education, because you're absolutely right. That plays a huge role in what happens here on campus. That big pink building down the street plays a massive, massive role in the day-to-day life here on campus.
I just wanted to say thank you for answering my comments and questions. And closing, because I'm missing a review session at 4 p.m. this afternoon. This is my first one to make it too. I just want to say, and this is President Powers. President Powers, I think there's a severe controversy right now with TPAC and representing student concerns. And having had you as an instructor in course previously 3 years ago, and considering a lot of the things that were expressed in that, I think right now there's a serious lack of democratic values specifically highlighted. I don't think it's these student leaders' fault. I don't think we should blame anybody on this commission. I don't think we should blame you. But I do think we need to take a strong stand right now and say we will not increase tuition. And we replace the blame purely at the feet of the Board of Regents and politicians to the point. And I think that would be a stronger statement than simply raising tuition increases and moving on.
Hi, I'm Bernardino Villasenor, senior in Mexican American Studies. This whole process disempowers students and stops us from effectively organizing themselves. We went into our jobs for break or when we're assaulted finals to hold these charades and forums where we think our votes are heard, but in reality we're ignored. We know your tactics to slowly whack and how these institutions slowly choke the off low and moderate income families from attending here. No longer will we take these cuts like mindless drones in the system. Powers, You say your hands are tied because you can't lobby the legislature. But we can't wait until December 15th or until March 2012 to find out what the final decision will be. We need to know now, not next month, not next year. You literally have your back towards the students right now. We want to know, are you going to stand with us students, or are you going to sell us out and give us another tuition increase? Use this opportunity now to address us and let us know. Please.
I'll remind you that this is a forum of the Tuition Policy Advisory Council. The president is here to hear your feedback. He's heard your feedback. The president has been asked to respond to the Board of Regents by the 15th.
Right now, he should take this opportunity.
I appreciate your opinion. As Kevin Hagerty said, I'm here to listen and take this input. And I'll take the input that I hear today. I'll take the input from both the students and other members of the committee. And
You've been asked the question.
I've been asked the question.
What you said at the KVU meeting last year is exactly what you said.
Exactly what you said.
Hi, my name is Michael Redding. I'm in the School of Information. I'm actually the GT back over there. Since Carissa brought us up, I figured I'd talk a little bit about that process. Our committee is made up of 6 members. There's 4 students and there are 2 faculty members. Our dean and our financial manager sit as ex officio members. We had a very compressed timeline, just like you did, and I must say, I appreciate how open this has been. This is now my 3rd tuition setting process as a student, as both an undergrad and a graduate student, and this is the most open they've ever been in way too many years to count. And so I think sort of the approach that we took is we wanted to get as feedback as much as possible, but we had a very short timeline too. But we did conduct that survey, and our results, 67%, 2/3 of our student body said the tuition increase would be bearable because the alternative was worse. And the alternative is we start losing faculty members, we start losing adjunct faculty, teaching assistants, and we can't support ourselves as a school over there without it. We're a very small college, and we need that support. And so, as a whole, we're all really sort of, we'll grin and bear it. And my concern really, though, is the 3.6% increase for the graduate students. These are students that will be here longer on average. Master's students aside, PhD students, they're here 6, 7, 8 years. And sort of my concern is, this is a 3.6% increase. Some of them had increases 2 years ago, and 4 years ago, and 6 years ago, and they might in 2 and 4 and 6 years end. And so my concern really is sort of, I wasn't there when, the regents said, your parameters and provost, everything. But sort of what was sort of the decision-making process on, okay, this is the cap for the graduate level as the 3.6 compared to the undergrad at 2.6. And it's just sort of a question that I have for you guys because I honestly don't know.
Well, let me take a shot at that. First of all, let me just add to comments that have been made from the panel up here. That we really appreciate you being here, and let me just say, as your provost, that we're all in this together, and while it looks like this is a stand that we're taking to add new resources to the university, the bottom line is that we're working as efficiently as we can to make sure to keep the university strong so that the value of your degrees are what your parents and parents before and generations before that have had. And that is a world-class university where when you take your degree and you go into the world, that the world recognize the value of what you have. And that's what we're trying to do. My job is to ensure that you have the quality of the faculty, the stability of the university, and work with the president every day to make sure that this is a strong university, run efficiently, and it is, and empowered by students. I'm going to get to your question, but let me just say that it has been a real privilege for me this year to work with the Senate College Councils. We meet every month and we've met all year long to talk about how we can really focus on this occasion, how we can drill decision-making down into the student body. We tried really, really hard. We have it right. Well, no, we're still working at it, but we're giving it everything that we have. We'll try to listen to your comments and do better. In the end, I think that the answer is that higher education is in trouble across the entire country. And the foundations of what we've always been able to rely on in terms of the substance of what it means to be a university like the University of Texas at Austin is in deep danger. And it's for all the reasons that you're talking about. So you're not wrong. You're not wrong, but we're not wrong either. You know, what you want is affordability, you want excellence, you want society to support you so that you can go to a world-class institution that you've been accepted into and have a cost-efficient, high-quality education. That's what we want. Same as you. But in the end, what we all need is to understand that the great benefit of the University of Texas at Austin is designed for you. And that's what we hold hard and fast to. Now for your question, for the 3.6, you know, I don't think I have a good answer for you. I don't think any of us have a good answer for you. The truth is that I think that the full-time undergraduate 2.6 was set as a measure of an average over several years to the Consumer Price Index, and then there was an assessment that we could perhaps go up 1% more than that for graduate education, and we looked at the needs, and as was described earlier by our student representatives on the Tuition Policy Advisory Committee, the overall resources that we're going to get back will likely not cover benefits needs of the university. So there are going to be great needs over and above this. So that's as honest an answer as I can give you. Is the 3.6 is what we were told would be considered, and so that's what we're going in with this request. It's not what we need, but it's all we should be doing. Thank you.
Yeah, thanks a lot. I'm senior and Latin American Studies major. I wasn't going to just come up here and restate Mr. Danson's question to President Howard, but you're speaking has prompted me to ask another question. Since you're saying we're all in this together, it's another question that will be directed to President Powers, and I think it's pretty telling that we're not going to give us a clear question or a clear answer to that. But on the state, this is a question of, are you going to recommend tuition increases, or are you going to stay with the students? And then I will also say, are you willing to take a pay cut to prevent cuts to departments, from faculty budgets? I mean, what are you willing to do? If we're all in this together, what are the administrators in this institution willing to do? Like, isn't there a question of other redistribution of money from the school versus like simply increasing?
Well, I would say, I'll begin to respond by, there are a number of actions that have, there have been a number of actions that have already been taken by the university, the administration. For example, last year there were 200 positions cut. Every one of those positions were cut from the administrative ranks. And I would add, including 2 vice presidential level positions. Tuition, as we have said for some time now, and it's the honest to God truth, is raising tuition is an action of last resort. What we've tried to do is find every opportunity to improve the efficiency of the university, reduce its cost, and we'll continue to do that, increase other revenue sources before we have to ask the students to pay more for their education.
You're not asking us, you're telling us.
Well, let me add just one more point to this discussion, and just to let you know that over the last 3 years, the deans and the colleges and schools have gotten no new money, zero. With everything that's happened and all the money exchanges that you talked about, past tuition policy advisory committee reports.
Have they taken pay cuts?
Let me finish, but I think it's important to know that the colleges and schools have been operating on a flat budget. They've been reallocating, they've been reprioritizing, focusing, making sure that we attend to keeping classes on track and available. The students' education are at the top of our priority list, but there is no new money being allocated into colleges and schools right now, and our projections are that even with this, there will likely be none for the next 4 to 5 years. It kind of depends on what happens in the next legislative session. But I would say to you again what I said before, that we are together. Our needs are the same. What we need is to go forth and understand that higher education is in trouble across the country, and it needs to be a togetherness that we have in terms of education.
Your tuition is increasing.
Yes.
Provost Leslie. Sorry.
Thank you. I'm sorry, I did not come here with any prepared statements. I'm here to take hands with talk with my VP, but I couldn't help but come here and make more of a comment as to something that you looked at. Because the fundamental disconnect from the higher administration and the realities of the students. You said what our parents and our parents' parents are paying for our education. I think it's a general assumption that we all have parents out there who are supporting us and they make more money with us. Like especially about that to the 3.6 that are graduate students that yes are here 6 to 8 years, and to imagine that we adults, graduate students, are still hanging on to our parents' income streams while they go through retirement, and while they are in the same economic disaster that we are in, it's not the truth on the ground. And we are struggling, we are working, and we are paying to get through school. There may be many people out there who have parents who just look the whole way. That's not us.
I absolutely agree with you, but I'm sorry if I sent that impression. I respect everything that you just said.
My name is David Hernandez. I'm a mechanical engineering freshman. And I would like to thank you guys for having this. I think it's great that a student, I'm a freshman, first year, that I am able to voice my opinion. It's great. Second thing that I want to say is that I'm a first generation student from a low income family. But I don't want to talk about myself. What I want to say is that, yeah, it is tough for me to have to pay the extra amount of tuition. I'm here in scholarships and grants. And if the tuition were to go up, I would have to pay out of my pocket. However, I am willing to pay that much. Because the reason I decided to come to UT is because UT is a great institution. Is because, I mean, our motto says we start here, change the world. And I see that. I mean, I'm getting involved in all these things. I see all the programs that are being installed to make sure that I graduate in 4 years. Make sure that I have the best education that I can get. Make sure that even though that I am in a public institution, I get the same education that I would have gotten if I would have gone to an IB and paid much, much more. So I might be the 1% today saying that I am for the increase of tuition, because if this doesn't occur, where's the money going to come from? We know that the legislation is not going to give it. And yeah, and hopefully this doesn't continue and keeps on going. So I believe, honestly, that the legislation should take up the role and help out higher education, because, I mean, we are the future. And if they don't do anything about it, that's going to leave us in a worse position than we were before. But that's some lobbying that I don't believe is done here, but rather at the Capitol. So if we do want to see changes, I mean, I'm not old enough to vote yet. I will be 18 in coming years. But when I vote, I'm going to make sure that higher education is going to be one of my priorities. And I think that's where we have to take it. I mean, the issue is not here. As UT, all we can do is do things for UT. We can't do anything for the state of Texas. Our legislators can. And who votes for our legislators? We do. So once again, I commend you guys. I am thankful that you didn't put the entire burden on us students. The only part of the money that's going to be needed is going to be coming from us. But once again, I am willing to pay that extra amount because I want my degree to be the value that it is right now. I don't want to see fees. Thank you.
My name is Andrew Clark. I'm a second-year international relations major and vice chair of the Liberal Arts CEVAC. And since we were referenced a little bit by Chris, I thought it would be nice to come up here and talk a little bit about our process, exactly what we did. As she mentioned, we did send out a college-wide survey. We asked students for their priorities on issues, asked them to rank what they valued think that progress certainly has been made because the last tuition study by INEM, this was an opportunity students did not have. We didn't have the chance to have a mechanism to really voice concern. And yes, we were the only college who said no to or the only CTVAC, I should say, that said no to a tuition increase. But what we did do was, based on what students said in our survey, we outlined their priorities and we said, should a tuition increase be necessary, this is what the students care the most about, what they feel the most strongly about. I think we took a fairly proactive approach in that and ensuring that student priorities were being heard and that what is most dear to them was represented. And I think that it's just been a lot of progress because clearly this is just something we didn't have in previous years and room for improvement, room for growth, and I just wanted to say thank you, for giving us this mechanism with which to voice these concerns. And obviously, you heard from 16 CTVAC, so it was all across the college, all kinds of different schools. Just really, thank you for these mechanisms, and I'm confident that as the years go on, that this will probably become better and more improved and transparency and really
Hi, my name is Sarah Yamada. I'm a senior in the social work program here at UT. I'm also part of Long-Term Leaders of Dr. Lauderdale, which is, I kind of want to touch on some of the things that he has stressed to me over the last, I've been here since 2007 fall, and I've been a member of his classroom since then. And what he's always tried to talk to us about is how much money that we pour into our football team and everything that we do over there, along with like pools that we put on the dormitories. I was like, seen 2 brand new buildings, and from what I understand is that the deal is that there's separate funds for that, but then what I want to ask is, what do we invest in our UT? Are we trying to invest in people's minds? Are we trying to invest in entertainment? Are we trying to make, like football players, basketball players? What are we saying at UT is about? What, we're the #1 party school, we're the #2 party school, and this is all about entertainment? I came here to get an education. I am $50,000 in debt right now. I still have at least 1 more year left of school in my undergraduate program. In order for me to make anything of myself as a social worker, I have to go to graduate school. So on top of that, then I have to deal with that, and then who knows how much I will have raised it like that. What I want to understand is, why is it that we're able to make this place look so flashy and to put so much entertainment in here to games that I don't even go to because I don't care about football, because I came here, once again, like I said, to get an education. I don't need much of that. Get paid $70,000? $70,000? That is ridiculous. Mike Lauderdale himself, I think, makes $110. Like I said, I'm already $50,000 in debt as of right now. Rosa, me and you were in his class, and I can't believe that you would ever stand behind this. I don't understand. I don't understand.
I know why we need all this flashy stuff. It's because we have our donors. Our donors, right? And commercializing our research. Those are our cash cows. We can raise tuition, or we can ask Rick's friends to ask their friends to pay some money in corporate income tax. So those are our options, right? Well, students are the path of least resistance. So I'm really sorry that I have to say this, but this work that y'all have done on this board really didn't do much.
Yeah.
And they are accountable to no one. And you know what? When the UT system went and asked for permission to be able to have the regents, undemocratically set the tuition, they also said, and you know what? When you give all state workers raises, you don't have to give UT system workers raises. Is this right or is this wrong? Okay, so this is pitting workers against students. This is where this rhetoric comes from, that we have to raise tuitions, then we don't have to lay people off. So I guess what I'm asking is that we just drop the pretense, because really we know that our degrees aren't worth anymore. Like, we don't have the same college experience that people had 10 years ago.
Yep.
If I graduated 5 years ago, 10 years ago, then I wouldn't be in the debt that I'm in now. And somebody's making money off that debt.
Well, I'm your provost, so let me quickly disagree with you here, because the quality of your degree is world class when you get it.
The quality of my degree is worth thousands of dollars more than it was 5 years ago.
Well, I hope it's worth to you what it is.
That I have gotten myself. It's not been something that I have
really you're a world-class university, and congratulations on being here.
Yeah, but unfortunately I wasn't thinking ahead, and I picked a degree plan that isn't going to earn me a lot of money. So these areas that aren't able to be commercialized are being marginalized. We may as well cut them, because why should I do it? Why should I even have a degree that is in the liberal arts where I'm going to have to just take whatever job I can get in order to pay my loans back? Like, you may as well just cut those programs, because naive people like me will follow their passion.
I want to make sure that we hear from everybody. I want to call everybody's attention to the fact we've got about 9 minutes left, so if you would, please be succinct.
I do kind of understand the difficulty in funding education on my own now. I was lucky to have found benefits from my father serving in the military, but the fact is that not everybody has that. My issue that I've had in the past between scholarships and loans, I don't mind picking up loans because, like you said, I do realize that there is a world-class education here. I could go to Texas State where my brother goes to. That's not easy. And I choose to take the lobster over the Big Mac. But my point is that there is a situation here where you're only allowed to take out so many loans per year. Every time I go into the financial aid office, I say, I don't mind taking out more. I don't. But there's a gap between what they allow you to take out every year and how much more I'm having to pay. So whereas me and my brother both have the same, what the government says, estimated family contribution on the FAFSA report, but his age goes a whole heck of a lot farther than mine does, because the caps are the same. He's only allowed to take out the same amount I am, but mine just costs so much more. And it's all put onto those family, the parent plus loans and things like that. I'm also thinking my parents can't pay. My parents won't be able to pay. And they only supplement me, for example, the years I couldn't come back, my family loan was $5,000, but they only supplemented me with valid proof that I was only going to be supplemented with $2,000, which still left me $3,000 in the hole. That's not something that I can easily come up with, and there's only so many scholarships out there that you can qualify for. We're not all 4.0 students. That doesn't mean that we don't work hard. But in terms of these tuition hikes, like I said, I was here last year, my question is, were these added factors taken into consideration? Because I know there's always a 10 million different factors, but it needs to supplement for those people who, like I said, I'm willing to take out the extra money, but I'm not allowed to. And so I'm in this position where I have to pay higher tuition, but I'm not allowed to take out the funds to do so.
Well, the answer is, by law, 20% of the increase has to be set aside for additional need-based financial aid, which in this particular case, if this proposal were to proceed forward and pass, it would set aside about $2.5 million. Now, that would be turned over to the financial aid office and packaged along with however they package their financial aid based on need. So it's difficult for us to personalize that to your particular situation. But I think the answer is yes. That's a substantial sum of money that would be set aside in recognition that certainly any increase makes it more difficult for a student, especially one living at the edge, to continue their education at the university.
And then one other thing, I'm not sure, I think there's something mentioned about, keeping the competitiveness of UT, which is something that I pride myself in being part of the university because it is so competitive. But there's also, I think, a factor of we don't have to, I think we don't pay enough attention about the competitiveness of the students who come here, especially the teachers that teach here, which are great, and I've had very few professors who I think were terrible. I love my professors here at the university. But I think with the detrimental tuition, I mean, as much as there are good components of it, the tuition rates going higher definitely makes it, competitive students who could come to the university, produce needs and produce more, turn them away to colleges that may be otherwise affordable or will have programs like some private institutions have better ways of privately funding their education through public scholarships. And I'm just wondering if that competitiveness, and keeping that competitiveness there is important as well.
Yeah, first of all, thank you. And I think you just couldn't define better and so well what student circumstances really are these days. Your particular circumstance, but that translates across this entire room, across the entire campus, across the United States. And we don't want that. I would say to me, I don't know any more than you do or anyone in here. I think it's just very unfortunate that we have the circumstances that you just described. But we all need to work together to try to rectify that. And we taken that into consideration. We maximize student aid. This university for full-time students provides $145 million. That subsidizes our tuition to the point where, on the average, the cost of a $9,000 tuition is at 44% of that value. And so we try everything we can to maximize tuition support. And then we have loans and indebtedness that's added on top of that. But it's because of the curves that you saw in that fourth slide that the students presented. And that is that the public support, the state support is going down really steep. If you look at the tuition curve, it goes up a little bit, but then it's really flat. For the last 5 to 10 years or so, not very, very much. The total dollars to the university are on the decline. That puts us in a situation where we rely on donors. Where was our student who made the points about the donors? Thank God for donors. They're wonderful. They love this university. They try to support us. They give us scholarship funds, $145 million in scholarships. And so, as it turns out, in terms of the cost of education at this university is $28,000 a year. In terms of what it actually costs in a subsidized fashion, what the payment is on the average for students, now that's on the average, it's not you individually, it's on the average, is about 15% of the actual cost. The faculty generates $600 million a year in funding for this campus. The donors give money. This is a $2.2 billion campus. And we receive less than $300 million a year from state appropriations to support it. Now, I'm not criticizing decisions necessarily of state legislature because the society has great demands on needs. We have economic circumstances, but what happens is that our fabulous students get caught in this and in ways that you described it perfectly. Thank you for that. And yes, we took loans into consideration. We're mapping what is happening with student loans right now. We're looking at income ranges, and I get what you're saying in terms of families who are caught in a situation where the income range is not high enough to pay for things, but high enough so that you don't get full benefits that you might otherwise get. It's a really tough situation for the middle class right now.
We've got about 1 minute, so we'll take these questions.
My name is James Lundy. I'm an English major in geometry, so I imagine with that 3 more semester tuition. Aside from that, I'm doing service in Texas. But I don't want the money to go up either. Like, I don't want to have to pay. What am I going to do if the tuition goes up and I don't think it's worth it anymore? Am I going to just stop taking a degree? I mean, at that point, I'm really evaluating whether or not I'm here for an education or a degree. You know? I don't need an education for a lot of jobs. I need a degree. I got to get a degree regardless, and I've already put money towards that, so it'd be a crying shame if I didn't go ahead and get it. But, I mean, like I said, I'm pretty conservative. I mean, I make Ann Coulter look like some freaking Thomas Sowell. But I don't want to pay any more money for not seeing something tangible for it. And so what? We're in a crappy economy, okay? Things are going to suffer. It just happens, all right? So maybe we don't have lights in the classrooms for a little while, but if this is a prestigious freaking university, why are your staff leaving if you don't pay them so much? Why can't you tell your staff, all right, look, this is such a great privilege and an honor and distinction to serve here at the University of Texas. We're going to have to cut your pay, but I hope it's still worth it to you to impart your wisdom and the knowledge you can give to these children, these future generations. Is that not worth it, or is that not really why we're hiring?
I think every employee that's at the university has that choice every day.
Out there, but it's not one here because it's pretty arbitrary what the prices are, and it's pretty arbitrary to get the M3.
Thank you very much for your comments. We have to close the forum. Several of us will continue around, so if you have questions, happy to visit with you one-on-one. And we very much appreciate everybody being here today. Thank you.
If anybody wants to get on the Occupy UT mailing list, come over here and